Hi guys, and welcome to a new series called Let's Build Hemburg. So Hemburg is one of the actual cities that is in the Kingdom of Aurelia. Now Aurelia is a little bit different in the lore. We've got a mix of these different provinces, and this one is the kind of Rohan inspired horse lord kind of style, and they all live on this big hill. This is the kind of like hill city, Hillfort they live in, called Hemburg. So what we're going to be doing throughout this series is building up the bones of the city, the Hillfort, and building the fortification, building the houses, not doing too much detail. This is one of the things I want to do with this series, use the time lapses to show you guys just the kind of like overall stuff, and then what we'll do is we'll go in either on live streams or on Let's Build series and actually build up there. So first things first is building the fortifications. Now I want to make these people a little bit poorer, so they mostly almost are entirely farmers, and they're going to all live within the actual hill fort itself, and they go out every day and work in the fields, then come back to the safety of their own houses within the city walls. So with the style of these, I went, well, really simple, very square, you know, kind of like a stone base, very messy on the bottom, and then just using these wooden pillars building up towards, well, these towers really. And I wanted to go with kind of like, almost like a palisade style, but I wanted to make it look like a lot of the wood has been taken around from the land. Because it does look very open grassland, which is why they've got great horses, but the idea being that they've actually deforested most of this area in order to build their houses and this settlement itself. So that's why there's quite a heavy amount of stone, but not really as fortified as like the Kingdom of Vestir, for example, or any of the other ones. This is more of a, you know, it's small defenses rather than kind of like the larger ones. So we now come down to the bottom of the hill here, and this is where I'm going to have the second gate. So there's only 2 gates to get into Hemburg, and this one right here is actually nearest the river. So at some point we've got to build a very large bridge going over the river, and we need to name that river as well. So you can see me building into the top area onto here. Now behind this is where I'm going to have the Grand Hall, very similar to the one in Rohan. That's why I'm going to use it as like inspiration. I'm going to make it a little bit different and change it up. I have especially the front of the main kind of hall. I'm definitely going to use the same one that is in Lord of the Rings and obviously in Edoras. As you can see me building around the sides here. I'm really roughening up the walls. I really did want to make it look like the stones had almost crumbled away, or they'd just been piled on onto the side of it. Almost like you build a base of a wall and then just keep on adding stones onto the sides of those. And then coming around, you see that spiky style continuing on. Something that it's not a brilliant wall for defensive kind of reasons, because you can't actually walk across the wall. All that you have in this is the towers. The idea being that they're, you know, as warriors, this is more of a kind of just a ward off attackers. But they'd probably, or most likely, the warriors themselves would ride out on their horses to attack. So there we go, joining up the rest of the wall. So the next part is to build a nice big path going through from the gatehouse of the plains and then going over to the other side of the gatehouse. And this will act almost like a main road going throughout the settlement. And it was just really important to get it in and built so that then we have something to build off to do any of the other structure building. So, onto the first building. So this one was actually inspired, obviously, by kind of like Rohan style, but I actually saw a mod for Battle for Middle-earth, and there was this kind of like warehouse, which had this open bit on the side, and I thought it was really cool, so I tried that out. I also tried out using the yellow wood on the top of these, and I later actually go back and actually change them. I'm going to try to only use kind of like coloured or painted wood for the fancier upper classes, and that's the way that we're going to be able to do those. So then coming around to the back and doing a very traditional style, or very typical style, shall I say, version of like a peasant's Rohan house. And you can see I've kept the roofs very simple. Later on I'll come back in actually change these. Now annoyingly, one of the buildings, which is right at the back there, is a stables, and that didn't record quite properly. Then coming around to the side here and adding in a small stairway going up to one of the towers. I think what we'll do is when we go onto the Let's Build series, we'll actually build up those. Now another thing I want to do within the settlement is actually build up these small, very, very small palisades, almost like they, started off with these, or because they have deforested the area, of course, there's no roots in the ground to actually hold back the mud, so whether that's to hold in some of the hill. Now with this wall especially, this is definitely for the noble district, so on top of that hill behind them is the noble district. So this is just to build up a kind of like natural break. It also allows for really easy city planning. So you can see me just adding in a small low-lying wall, a couple spikes, not really that defensive, and then making a gate. So that's going to be the gate into the noble district where we'll have the main hall. And behind us on that area there, that's where I'm planning on building the grand hall. I think we'll call it something along those lines anyway. And then just coming around on the side. And then linking up with that lower wall that we've got down there as well is what we're going to do in a second. There you go. And then building it, just going across, and this is more just to, was a very, very small defense to stop people from climbing up the walls, even though I'm sure they could, without a doubt. And building a path up to the noble district, again, allowing us to kind of like cut everything up into these different sections. And then I've started to build in this little area here, again, because I've been able to split this up into sections, it's really good. So you can see we're building some houses, just of very, very basic design at the minute. And then the plan is to come in and detail them a little bit later. You can see me adding in the roof details there that will go all the way through the kind of like town or city. See, I've added some stables onto the side of that one. Then adding in a wall and adding in a lot of details. And smoothing out the path going up to the noble district. Now this building here I'm planning on having it as a tavern, so I've made it quite a bit bigger. And there's a couple of things I want to change on it, but in general the shape will stay pretty similar, I think. One of the things I want to do on the roof is actually open it up so we have a big smoke pit in the middle, very, very similar to how Skyrim does theirs. And then building another little house on the back here, tucked away in kind of like a side alley. Now this building here is actually going to be for dyers, so one of the things I wanted to do is add in a little bit of purpose early on in the build. We've already got the kind of like tavern, but also adding in a dyer, so this is going to be like a dyer's warehouse. And then on this odd bit of land that we've got going up to the noble district, actually having all of the different cloths, coloured cloths or dyed cloths all around, and this is where they would actually work, just behind that wall, so it's kind of like separated out. So there you go, you can see me adding in all little bits and bobs of details, just because it's outside, and it was nice and easy. It was a nice break from just building houses. So now I'm going to build a very, very long path. One of the things I want to do with this entire world is really connect it all up together, and it's something I haven't really done with Vestir yet, but one of the things I wanted to do, starting off with Hemburg and the Kingdom of Aurelia, was pull that road really, really far across the coast. There's going to be 2 roads to get into the mainland of Aurelia and where its capital is. And you can see me building a path going around the side of it, and that's going to join up to the gate. Now the main reason I did this is so that we have a path going around the side, but also for fields, which of course are incredibly important to the people of Hemburg. So you can see me using lots of different masks here, mostly orange. I built a wall around the sides of it as well, then filling it with a couple crops and then colouring those in. So those are all kind of like brushes I've used before and are on my lore document at the bottom if you guys want those brushes. I decided to build on it like an angled kind of path going up, and another couple of fields. You can see we're just cleaning those up there. And then painting in, this is using a style that I've done before to make sure there's enough air gaps. Now of course, what is a farm without a barn? And we had this perfect 45-degree kind of site, so I decided to build a 45-degree barn. The only thing I always find with 45-degree barns is, or any building, the roofs always look the same. And the next bit I'm building now is just a small kind of like river going down. So you can see the camera goes a little bit crazy on this bit, but it's absolutely fine. So that's me just building a small river down. This is kind of like Whiterun inspired, with their small streams that go around. And it was mainly to just cut something into the land, make it look a little bit more interesting, and it also allows me to, well, have a look at how I want the land to look and kind of shape it. And again, causing these natural cuts. There we go, building another road over to this side, and really annoyingly this does go to a windmill that I built later on, which you can just about see in the background, but that bit of video kind of died. Now building another path and then cutting this up, and this is to build even more farms, you guessed it. As like I said, they are a very, very heavy farming community, so the idea being that this is almost like the breadbasket of Aurelia, and they trade a lot of their crops, so they don't have a lot of metals. They do have a couple blacksmiths in the town itself, but the actual raw materials they will get from other people, so they might trade it, especially with the swamplands being so nearby, they might trade their wheat with them for whatever they get from the other side of the swamp, because they will be one of the only ones that can traverse that swamp. And I can see we're just adding in and smoothing out the path, going all the way up. So this is something that is incredibly difficult to capture on camera, as you guys can see. But this is something that I always like to do, just to make it look a little bit better. And it kind of, again, using these paths and smoothing them out means that then we're kind of almost a little bit more done with that side, and then we can start to detail around the outside of it. And that goes all the way up to the first gate that we built. Now, next thing I wanted to do is very, very Skyrim or Oblivion-esque, which is build stables outside of the actual city gates. So again, using the same kind of styles, I've gone pretty basic with this one, and that's because we're going to come back onto a Let's Build or Timelapse or something, not Timelapse, live stream or Let's Build, and actually detail this up. So one of the things I want to do with this is add in a little bit of an area, or a couple areas for horses. So there you go, you can see the windmill, and it's only basic at the minute, but we need to add a lot of detail onto it. We've got the small stream there, and the paths that all join that up, and I'm pretty happy with how the Hillfort looks. You can actually see it from quite far away. It looks quite nice, I think, but we've got a lot of work to do in filling out this entire area in the town, even if we just get the basic structure in. So if there's any ideas that you guys have for purpose buildings, we've got lots to do. We've got to do a nice little market area, we've got to do some sort of religion and tie that in with them. The people of Hemburg can be completely separate, because Aurelia is very multi-racial as a kingdom. I can see the farms that we've got there. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode of Let's Build Hemburg. If you have, please comment, like, subscribe, and if you guys want a Let's Build or time lapse, please tell me what you guys want to see, and we'll work on that. Thanks for watching, I'll see you on the next one.